All right, so I've been asked to do a drapery, and working with clothes and stuff. So I've just got two figures here, nothing, just they're just real quick gesture sketches, nothing very major at all. And so what I'm doing is, you always want to think about one, how the cloth is. Um, you've got a couple different things you can think about when you're doing this. One, you want to think of the strength of the cloth. And I'm spelling this wrong. It's the strength of the cloth. Um, Two, you want to think about the high points, or basically the tension areas. And those two things are gonna tell you quite a bit. And then also you wanna think about how much, the quantity. And I'll explain this in a section here. So, and the best way to learn this is just kind of study actual, what people are wearing, that type of thing. But you wanna think about the number of the amount of strength your cloth has. So if you're going to use like silk or things like that, you're going to have a lot more wrinkles than you would on, say, burlap, and that's basically the strength of the cloth and how much tension it holds. And the tension is, you want to think of where the cloth is being supported from. Basically, you know, where it's being held upright, where it's going to bend, things like that. And then the quantity is how much to bend. So an example of this, what I would do if I were just drawing this, if I'm drawing a shirt, the first thing I think of is you're going to have wrinkles here. And I'm just kind of drawing the um, outlying aspect of the wrinkles here. And so I always tell people that, um, wrinkles will go out in kind of a 180, sometimes a little bit more degree fan. So don't get your wrinkles all bunched up like this and even. So if you're doing stuff like this is bad for wrinkles. It's too even. You want to have a little bit of difference, variation in there. It's going to bend more in the corners, and it's going to be closer here. And then as it comes out, it's going to have less tension and kind of relax a little bit more. So you want to have wrinkles there. Um, you're going to have tension on the the shoulders, where it's basically being drawn down. Generally, the tension actually comes from the armpits, because that's where you're moving your arm back and forth. It's being held up here, but when you move, this is the variant move here. So you want to pay attention to wrinkles in that area. You're going to have wrinkles follow the form. So on this leg, wrinkles would bunch up and follow this form, and it would also kind of stretch here as well, up on the corners. So it's going to stretch up there. And so you are going to come up with a different amount of pull and stuff like that. And so you're going to also have stretch underneath. Um, so like on the knee would be flat because the tension is being pulled from there, but you'd have wrinkles on the back like so. So those are things that you always want to kind of pay attention to, is where are the wrinkles coming from. If you have too much of the shirt, okay, if you have too much of the shirt, what's going to happen is you're going to get compression. So this deals with the quantity. So if my shirt is hanging down, and if it's um, coming down here like so, what's going to happen is you are going to get more compression here, and it's kind of zigzags, so it's almost like it X's out, something like this. I always tell people just to kind of do this crisscross thing here, and then the tension is actually built into things like that. So you're going to get a crisscross here, where the shirt is basically compressing on the bottom, and it's going to wrinkle more down here than anywhere else, because it's actually going to be draped. It's hanging from the shoulders, so the hang comes down and things like that. So those are things that you want to pay attention to. You're also going to get compression on the boots or on the shoes. So if you get, if it's hanging down, the arch of the shoes is going to create a compression there. So that's where you're going to notice a lot of the bend. The knees, because the knees are being worn in, you're going to get more compression in the knees, even standing straight up. It's not going to show you the wrinkles per se, but there'll be subtle variations in the knees, things like that. So those are things that you really want to pay attention to. If you had a hood on this character, the hood, it's being held up by the head and it's draping down. Depending on how much hood you have is how much it comes up. So paying attention to things like that. And you still will probably have wrinkles in the arms, but there won't be a ton of wrinkles, much like the knees or the hips and the major bend points. But you're going to have some sort of a wrinkle, maybe a little bit of a twist, that depending on how the article of clothing is worn. Okay, and this is on this male figure. It's relatively, tight clothing. If you're going to have looser clothing, like on a female figure with dresses and things like that, you're going to get much more arcs and sags. So you'll see, the big expensive gowns, they'll sag within the breasts. The clothing will sag down, and it will basically fall from the breast, things like that. The hips will be holding up the cloth, so you'll get that drapery effect, and that comes out from basically the hips. If you have the leg raised up, you'll have wrinkles and stuff coming from down the legs themselves and things like that. So these are things that you want to pay attention to. If the cloth is draping up and it's basically sewn up, you're going to get wrinkles here too. And that's basically the idea of paying attention to where wrinkles go and things like that. Now, coloring them or painting them would be any other format that you'd have. So it's the same concept. So you have your lights. I'm just kind of painting this in here. So if this is your concept of drapery, and you have a shadow on this side, it's going to basically raise up there, and then I'm just going to kind of put my highlight around there, and the lights and darks will kind of give you the lights and darks will kind of give you how things are basically being handled. All right, so it's very similar. It's just you're going from the basic form to the lights and darks, somewhat similar to this, and so that's really the best thing I can tell you when you're drawing is, again, get that reference in there. It'll help you a lot. It'll give you, the idea of drawing wrinkles and stuff, and that's why people just do studies on cloth themselves. All right, I hope that helps.